Just after getting off work, I ran into a college classmate at the subway station. He asked me, after all these years, when I would forgive Katarina. Katarina was my childhood sweetheart, and 5 years ago we almost got married. But on the night before we were supposed to get our marriage certificate at the engagement banquet, she publicly called it off. She said she didn't want to be a stand-in for my so-called crush and wished me a happy life with her instead. Then she dragged her junior schoolmate from graduate school and left right away. I was confused and wanted to explain that I never had any so-called crush, but she had already hurt me so badly that I was left shattered. And in the end, I left City A. Katarina has always had you in her heart. She said that if it weren't for you having a crush and treating her as a substitute back then, she would have married you already. Now, as long as you admit you were wrong, she's willing to rekindle your old romance. Rekindle an old romance? I laughed. My child is already 3 years old. What romance is there left to rekindle? Chapter 1. Domi's eyes widened. He stared at me blankly as if he had just heard something unbelievable. Married? His voice stuttered. Your kid is already in kindergarten? I nodded, unwilling to waste more words. I turned to leave. He yanked me back with astonishing strength. No way, Leonardo. You're not lying to me, are you? His emotions ran high, drawing the attention of the people waiting for the train nearby. You loved Katarina so much. Who in all of City A didn't know? For her, you even gave up the chance to enter a top university with guaranteed admission. How could you possibly be willing to marry someone else? I frowned. Hearing these old stories come from his mouth only sounded ironic. I did love Katarina. I loved her enough to give up everything for her, but that was in the past. Why would I lie to you? I asked in return. My indifference seemed to provoke him further. Then who's your wife? What does she do? Is she as beautiful as Katarina? Is her family background as good as hers? He fired off his questions like a machine gun, his words filled with inexplicable hostility, as if I had married someone unworthy of mention. I ignored him, trying to wrench my hand free, but he only tightened his grip, relentless. Leonardo, are you doing this on purpose? I know what happened back then hurt you. But it's been 5 years. All grudges should be gone by now. Do you even know what Katarina has gone through these past 5 years? He went on and on, his tone laced with pride. Katarina Lin, as the only daughter of the Lin family, took over the Lin Corporation and proved herself no less than any man. With her bold reforms, the company's market value has tripled. She's become the most dazzling rising star in the business world. Countless wealthy families tried to win her over, but she stayed chaste for you. Other than Julian, her work partner, she hasn't had a single boyfriend. Everyone says she's a love brain, wasting 5 years of her life for a man who didn't know how to cherish her. The Katarina he described sounded devoted and outstanding, like the perfect, tragic heroine. But to me, it was only disgusting. I remembered a phone call I received before leaving City A. It was from Katarina's father, Uncle Lin. His voice was as warm and polite as always, yet carried an unmistakable distance. Leonardo, I know you've been wronged. On the other end, he sighed lightly. That child, Katarina, we spoiled her too much. She's got too much of a pampered princess temper. He first comforted me. Then his tone shifted. But speaking of which, young people in relationships, it's normal to have some minor conflicts. Katarina is our only daughter. Taking over the Lin Corporation comes with enormous pressure. The help we can give her is only temporary. What she needs is someone by her side to guide her and support her. I held the phone in silence. I understood exactly what he meant. I've met that kid Julian a few times. He's got a sharp business mind and is steady. He's accomplished academically, shares many common interests with Katarina, and has been a great help to her career. Uncle Lin's voice was gentle, yet every word struck me hard. Your gentle nature is a good thing, but for Katarina's position, her future husband needs to be decisive, to have means and strategy. have means and strategy. So in his eyes, all of my kindness and gentleness were simply not enough. Means, not enough strategy. I grew up in the Lin household. He watched me grow up and treated me like his own son. Yet when it came to the crucial moment, 20 years of bond could not compare to a single sentence. Good for her career. In the eyes of these wealthy families, being a good match in status and being a boost to career would always outweigh childhood sweetheart feelings. I said nothing at the time, just quietly hung up the phone. Then I blocked all of their contacts. "Leonardo, are you even listening to me?" Seeing me drift off, Domi punched me lightly in dissatisfaction. "Katarina treats you so well, and now you've married an ordinary woman. Are you really content? Don't you regret it?" "Regret?" I looked at him as if he were a fool. I'm living very well. Word by word, I made it clear to him. My life doesn't need anyone else to meddle in it. After saying that, I didn't give him another chance to entangle me. I forcefully shook off his hand and turned away. Chapter 2. After I left City A, I cut ties completely with that old circle. I changed my phone number, my address, even the city I lived in. So they all thought I was still standing in the same place, waiting for that proud and dazzling woman to turn back and save me. But what they didn't know was, my life had already turned to a brand new chapter. And Katarina? She was nothing more than a scribbled-out mistake on the previous page. The train arrived at the station. I got off and walked into the kindergarten near my home. Through the fence, I saw my daughter playing on the slide with her classmates. Her face lit up with a bright smile. A graceful figure walked up to her and lifted her into her arms. It was my wife, Fiona. The moment she saw me, she broke into a smile. I strode forward quickly and took the child from her arms. "Wifey, why are you home so early today?" She took the bag from my hand and naturally slipped her fingers into mine. "Of course I missed you both, so I came back earlier." I smiled and pinched my daughter's chubby cheeks. In my arms, she snuggled against me and called out in her milky baby voice, "Daddy." That warmth in that moment was enough to fend off all the coldness in the world. Regret? What would I possibly regret? Katarina and I were neighbors. We grew up together from toddlerhood. She was 2 years older than me and always protected me. If anyone dared to bully me, she'd be the first to rush up and fight them. Everyone used to say Leonardo was Katarina's most precious treasure, untouchable. And I also thought we'd always be that way, from school uniforms to wedding gowns. Until Julian appeared. He was Katarina's graduate school senior, a man both gentle and sharp-edged. He began to show up frequently around Katarina under the name of academic exchange, studying in the library together, working on projects together, attending academic forums together. At first, I didn't mind. Katarina had never lacked excellent men around her, but in her eyes, there was only me. I had enough confidence in her. The first time I felt uneasy was at a friend's gathering. We were playing Truth or Dare. Julian lost and chose a dare. The challenge was to reveal a secret about someone present. His eyes swept over everyone before finally landing on me with an apologetic look. "Leonardo, I'm sorry, but I'll have to reveal one of your secrets." He smiled, though his tone was hesitant. "Last time, I accidentally saw that Leonardo's phone wallpaper was a photo of him with a girl. She looked really pretty. I don't know who she was." In an instant, all eyes turned to me. Some of them also glanced at Katarina. The bright smile on Katarina's face faded. "She's my cousin," I explained immediately. "She passed away 2 years ago. That's the only photo I ever had with her." "I'm so sorry," Julian quickly apologized. "I didn't know. I really didn't mean it." He looked extremely guilty. Everyone else hurried to smooth things over, and the matter was dropped. But that night, when we got home, Katarina still asked me about it. "Your cousin? Why have I never heard you mention her?" She'd been in poor health for years, living abroad for treatment. Of course, you never met her. I handed her my phone. In the photo, a young girl leaned against a hospital bed, her face pale but her smile gentle. I stood beside her, my own smile a little forced. Look, we even resemble each other a little. Katerina looked at it for a long time before finally returning the phone to me. You do look alike. On the surface, she believed me, but I could feel that a seed of doubt had already been planted in her heart. From then on, Julian always casually brought me up in front of Katerina. Katerina, Leonardo has such a great personality and so many friends. Not like me, my circle is way too small. Katerina, yesterday I saw Leonardo watching a movie with a girl. He's really popular. Katerina, isn't Leonardo about to graduate? He loves to play around so much. Can he really handle a 9-to-5 job? He never spoke ill of me directly. Every sentence was phrased as praise, yet each one carried a hidden implication. Implying I had too many female friends. Implying I was frivolous. Implying I wasn't steady or reliable enough. Katerina began to grow suspicious and jealous. And that led to our first explosive quarrel. It started with an academic banquet that Katerina insisted on bringing me to. At the banquet, I ran into a senior from my internship company, and we chatted for a while. Right there on the spot, Katerina's face turned cold. She left me alone in the hall and walked away. I chased after her and found her in the parking lot. "Katerina, what's wrong with you now?" "What's wrong with me?" she sneered. "Leonardo, when you're happily chatting with another woman right in front of me, did you ever think about how I'd feel?" I said. "She's my mentor. We were talking about work. She's even married and has a kid. Talking about work requires laughing that happily," she shouted. I looked at her face, twisted by jealousy, and felt both unfamiliar and exhausted. "Katerina, can you calm down? I've never betrayed you. My love for you is real." "I'm the one who's not calm." She grabbed my wrist hard. "Do you think I'm being too controlling? Like a shrew? Do you think I can't compare to your dead cousin who was all gentle and considerate?" I didn't understand why she had to bring up my cousin again. My head throbbed with anger. "Katerina, she was my blood relative within 3 generations. What are you even saying?" I was shaking all over with rage, but she only gave me a hateful glare before running away. That time, we stayed in a cold war for a long while. I thought our relationship had only hit a small bump, but I never imagined. It was only the beginning of the rupture. Chapter 3. A week of Cold War with Katerina. I tried to reach her no fewer than 10 times, but she ignored every one of them, and in the end, she blocked and deleted me. Before, whenever we argued, at most 3 days later she would soften and talk to me. But this time she didn't. I was boiling inside, but the engagement banquet was coming up, and I thought she would eventually come to me. The night before the banquet, I received a message from Julian. It was a photo. In the picture, Katerina was drunk, leaning on his shoulder and sleeping deeply. Julian's head was slightly inclined toward her with a triumphant smile at the corner of his mouth. Under the photo, there was one line of text. "Katerina is under a lot of pressure. You should be more considerate of her." I stared at the photo, upset and restless. Still, I comforted myself. She'd simply had too much to drink, and Julian was just taking care of her. It was my fault for not being by her side. On the day of the engagement banquet, I dressed carefully, took charge of the venue in advance, and arranged many gifts. I wanted to surprise her. I found her in the bridal room. She wore a gown matching mine, so beautiful I couldn't take my eyes off her. When she saw me, her eyes flickered away. "Katerina," I stepped forward and reached to take her hand. "Let's not argue, okay?" She reacted as if shocked by an electric shock and suddenly yanked her hand away. Her pull was so strong I stumbled, caught off guard. I looked at her in disbelief. Guests were filing in, and the host was already ready on stage. We, as the protagonists, stepped to the front. Spotlights shone on us. I forced a smile, trying to keep up the outward peace. Katerina didn't even bother to pretend. She wore a cold expression the entire time and didn't glance at me once. When the host asked us to exchange rings, the fatal blow came. She pulled her hand away from mine again. In front of all the guests, with an icy gaze, she accused me. "Being my stand-in was fun for you, huh?" The room erupted in murmurs. My head went numb. I was completely stunned. "Katerina, what are you talking about?" "What I'm talking about. Don't you know in your own heart?" She sneered and took a letter out of her bag. The stationery was pink and scented, clearly chosen with care. "What's that?" I asked. "This is the love letter you wrote to your crush," she shouted. "Julian found it in my study." She unfolded the letter and read it aloud in front of everyone. Those suggestive, saccharine phrases sounded like knives coming from her mouth, cutting into my chest. "It's not mine," I blurted in panic. "I didn't write it." "Not yours?" Katerina laughed until tears formed at the corners of her eyes. "Handwriting can be imitated, but the perfume on this paper is exactly the same as the one you wear. Leonardo, how long do you plan to keep pretending?" I was dazed by the sudden slander and humiliation. I looked down at the crowd. My parents' shocked faces, the Lin family's pale, furious expressions, and the guests' looks of scorn and pity. I felt like a joke. After finishing the letter, Katerina crushed the paper into a ball and hurled it at my face. Then she pulled out the engagement ring that should have gone on my finger and slammed it heavily onto the floor. "Wish you and your true love a lifetime of happiness." She spoke every word clearly, with piercing force. And with that, she grabbed Julian, who pretended to console her but whose eyes couldn't hide his gloating, and walked out decisively under the sympathetic gazes of the crowd. In that moment, my world collapsed. The farce of the engagement banquet made me the laughingstock of the entire City A circle. Everyone said I was a scumbag who toyed with true feelings, that while stringing along the Lin family heiress, I was secretly tangled up with another woman. Rumors surged over me like a flood. The Lin family offered no explanation, letting the gossip fester. I became the man who schemed to climb into a wealthy family only to reap what I deserved, a gold digger. My heart turned completely cold toward the Lin family, toward Katerina. I didn't offer a single explanation because I knew someone who no longer trusted me would never believe anything I said. I deleted all contact information, shut down my social media accounts, and alone bought a one-way ticket and left City A. The city I had lived in for 20 years no longer held a shred of attachment for me. Domi must have told Katerina the news that I was already married with a child. My phone began to be bombarded by countless unfamiliar numbers, some local, some from City A, calls, texts, one after another. I ignored them all and blocked them all. She must have grown desperate. A few days later, just as I stepped out of my office building, someone blocked my way. It was Katerina. 5 years had passed. She had shed her youthful greenness, becoming more mature and alluring, but there was a sharp hostility etched between her brows. Her bloodshot eyes locked onto me, burning. "Why didn't you answer my calls?" Her voice was hoarse, as if she hadn't rested properly in a long time. I said nothing, stepping aside to walk past her. She grabbed my arm, her sharp nails digging in as if to pierce my skin. "Leonardo, I'm talking to you," she roared. Her grip hurt so much that I frowned. "We're no longer connected. Please let go." My detachment and indifference pushed her into a frenzy. "No longer connected? Easy for you to say. You disappeared for 5 years without a word, and now you've got a child with someone else. What do you take me for?" Her question sounded utterly laughable to me. You'd rather marry some ordinary woman who came out of nowhere than come back and explain a single word to me? Her eyes were bloodshot, staring at me like a beast abandoned in despair. Leonardo, did you ever even love me? She asked. After humiliating me before everyone with a forged letter, after letting rumors destroy me while she ignored me completely, after living openly with Julian for 5 carefree years, she now came demanding to know why I didn't love her. Looking at her pained expression, I felt nothing inside, only irony. Back then, the one who stood on that stage, ridiculed by thousands, isolated and helpless, that was the person who should have been asking this question. Katerina, did you ever love me? If you did, how could you rather trust an outsider than believe in 20 years of our bond? I looked at Katerina coldly. Miss Lynn, please let go. The polite and distant form of address made her whole body tremble. Miss Lynn? She muttered, then flinched as if stung, her emotions exploding further. What did you call me? Leonardo, say that again. Her grip on my wrist tightened even more. You owe me an explanation. There's nothing left between us that needs explaining. I shook her hand off coldly, but couldn't break free. Her strength was too much. As we struggled, a soft, childish voice called out, Daddy! I turned and saw my daughter running out of the company entrance. She rushed toward me like a joyful little butterfly, arms spread wide. In her hand, she held up a freshly drawn picture with 3 little stick figures holding hands. Daddy, look! This is you, Mommy, and me! In an instant, I tore my hand free from Katerina's grip and knelt down to embrace my daughter. Tom, why did you come out? Mommy said you were off work, so she told me to come pick you up. I lifted my head and saw Fiona standing not far away. She was smiling as she watched us, father and child. Beside me, Katerina was struck as if by lightning at the sight of my daughter. Her whole body froze. Her face turned deathly pale. Her eyes locked onto the child in my arms, her lips trembling but unable to form a single word. Fiona walked over, naturally kissed my cheek, pinched our daughter's chubby face, and then strolled gracefully to my side. She looked at Katerina, her gaze calm as still water. This lady, do you have some business here? It was only then that Katerina seemed to come back to her senses. Her eyes shifted from the child to Fiona's face and finally fell on me. In them, I saw shock, pain, and disbelief. She stared at the scene in anguish, murmuring to herself, A child. You even have a child. Her voice was so soft, yet it brimmed with despair. Watching her in that broken, hollow state, I felt no trace of triumph. Only a barren, desolate calm. Chapter 5. Yes, I have a child. When I was abandoned by her, misunderstood by the whole world, and at my lowest and most humiliated, I met Fiona. She pulled me out of the mire. She made me believe again that love isn't possession and suspicion, but trust and protection. She gave me a home. Katerina, what you see now is the happiness I wrestled for with every ounce of strength I had. And you were long ago erased from my life. Katerina, as if possessed, suddenly stepped forward and tried to grab me. Leonardo, tell me this isn't true. Her hand didn't reach me before Fiona stepped in to block it. Fiona is a little taller, her features clear and composed. She simply stood there calmly, as if she were an impenetrable barrier. Seeing her back, my heart softened. She stood dutifully behind me, ready to protect me. Miss Lynn, is it? Fiona's tone was polite but laced with warning. Please don't disturb my husband and my child. My husband, my child. Those words hit like a blade. Katerina's face drained several shades paler. She looked at me with a humble, pleading expression. Leonardo, give me 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Let us talk alone, please. She lowered herself, her voice pleading. If this had been 5 years ago, I might have softened. But now I only felt amusement, I refused outright. No need, Miss Lynn. There's nothing left to talk about. Then I slipped my arm around Fiona's waist and drew her closer. Wifey, let's go home. Tom must be hungry. Fiona smiled at me gently and nodded. All right. I carried our daughter. She hooked her arm through mine. The three of us turned and left. I didn't look back at Katerina even once. I could feel the burning, painful stare from behind. It felt like it would sear my silhouette. I deliberately spoke to Fiona in a low voice, but clear enough for her to hear. Sweetheart, shall we have sweet and sour ribs tonight? Tom loves them. Okay, I just bought fresh ribs this afternoon. I'll have the nanny make them when we get home. You're the best, Mommy. Tom cheered happily in my arms. Our cheerful family chatter was like a cluster of blades stabbing straight into Katerina's heart. I heard a muffled sound from behind. I didn't turn around, but I knew she had broken down. The once haughty, untouchable Lynn heiress was now crouched on the ground like a dog abandoned by its owner, utterly pathetic. She finally realized I had truly begun a new life that had nothing to do with her, and she, with her ridiculous pride and jealousies, had become a joke. Katerina didn't give up. She tracked down my address. That night it was pouring rain. I had stayed late at the office and was coming home. Just as I reached the building's ground floor, I saw that familiar figure. She stood at the building entrance without an umbrella, letting the cold rain soak her through. Under the streetlight, she looked disheveled like a homeless drifter. When she saw me, she rushed over and blocked my way. Leonardo, do you have to treat me like this? Her eyes were bloodshot and she smelled of alcohol. What did I do wrong? Why are you tormenting me like this? She made me laugh with anger. Katerina, in what capacity are you asking me this now? I haven't forgotten you for a single day these past 5 years, she screamed in agony. I've been waiting for you to come back, and you turned around and married someone else. How could you be so heartless? Rain ran down her hair and mixed with the tears on her face. Her carefully applied makeup had been smeared by the rain. She looked pitiful. If Domi and the others had seen her like this, they'd probably be moved to pieces. But I only felt disgust. She'd been provoked by me. 5 years' worth of grievance and humiliation finally burst out. That letter, do you dare say you didn't write it? That woman, do you dare say you don't know her? Why didn't you explain? Even if you'd come back and said something sweet to me, I would have believed you. The rain's chill was nothing compared to the sharpness of her words. At last she made me angry. Explain! I laughed bitterly. Did I ever get a chance to explain to you, Katerina? I looked at her and told her the truth, word by word. I never wrote that letter. I'd never heard any of its contents before. The woman you mentioned, I only know the name. She was my cousin. My voice trembled in the rain. She had a congenital heart condition. At 20, she didn't make it. She died of cancer. Her funeral. I went back to my hometown for it and didn't have my phone on me. And you? You called countless times to accuse me of not answering, to ask if I'd been sleeping around with some woman. Katerina's color drained instantly. After that farce at the engagement banquet, I became seriously ill and was in the hospital for half a month. I tried to contact you to explain, but I found that you had already blocked me. After I was discharged, I went to your company to find you. And what did I see? I saw you and Julian walking out of the building, laughing together. He had his arm around your waist, and you didn't push him away. At that moment, I lost all hope. I lifted my head to meet the shock and regret in her eyes. I asked her back, "Did you ever give me a chance to explain?" Katerina, you preferred to believe a stranger's forged evidence than trust the 20 years between us. What did I ever mean to you? My words struck Katerina like a thunderbolt. She froze in place as if struck by lightning, unable to believe what she had just heard. No, this can't be. She staggered back, tripped on the step, and fell into the cold, wet ground. My cousin? She's dead. She hugged herself in pain, trembling all over. That letter. She looked up, her face full of remorse and anguish. It was Julian. He was the one who gave me the letter. She began to recall the events in agonized detail. He said he found it accidentally in my study and feared you were deceiving me, so he risked telling me. He whispered in my ear that you had already changed, that you had too many female friends, that you weren't fit to be the Lin family's son-in-law. At the time, jealousy and insecurity clouded my mind. She looked at me, her voice filled with desperate plea. I was so afraid of losing you that I lost my reason. I watched her coldly, unmoved. So that was your reason for humiliating me in public? She finally revealed her ridiculous truth. I regretted it the very next day. She closed her eyes in pain. After I left you there, I spent the whole night drinking at a bar. When I sobered up, I knew I'd made a mistake. I was impulsive. I hurt you. But I couldn't bring myself to apologize. She smiled at her own confession with self-mockery. I thought you would always come to comfort me, no matter how I behaved. I waited for you. I kept waiting for you to find me. But what I got was news that you had disappeared completely. She opened her eyes. The bloodshot pupils were full of frantic obsession. I resented you for being heartless, and at the same time, I went crazy missing you. My being with Julian was only to spite you. I wanted you to know that I could live well without you, she ranted hysterically. Nothing ever happened between us. We were only a nominal couple. My heart belonged to you alone. What an absurd justification. What a laughable act of spite. Because of her pride that wouldn't swallow, because of her childish pique, because of her foolish suspicions, and because of Julian's careful plotting, our 20 years of history turned into an utter tragedy. I looked at the woman in front of me, weeping and inconsolable, and felt only estrangement. Between us, it had truly become a missed chance. Katerina broke down completely. She knelt in the rain, clinging to my legs, sobbing as she begged for forgiveness. Leonardo, I'm sorry. I was wrong, truly wrong. Please forgive me. Let's start over. I'll cut ties with Julian right away. I'll destroy everything he has. I'll avenge you. Let's go back to how we were, please. I calmly pushed her hands aside. Rain soaked my hair and clothes. It was cold, but inside, I felt calmer than I ever had. It's too late, Katerina. I looked down at her from above. My life has already turned the page. Her cries stopped abruptly. She looked at me with utter despair. I'm not telling you this to make you suffer, or to have you take revenge on anyone. I only want justice. For my dead youth and for my dead cousin. From now on, please do not disturb my life or my family's life. That was my only request of her. Having said it, I didn't look back. I turned and walked into the building. Behind me, her screams tore through the night. Chapter 7. Later, I heard some things about her. After returning, she truly went mad with vengeance against Julian. She used the Lin family's power to ruin him in academia, leaving him disgraced and stripped of everything. But in doing so, she also destroyed herself. She sank into alcohol day and night, abandoned her career, and the Lin Corporation's stock value plummeted. At one point, she even sought out Fiona, offering a fortune to make her leave me. Fiona ignored her completely and warned her that if she dared to harass us again, she'd regret ever being born. From that day on, Katerina never appeared before us again. Years later, on a sunny morning, I was taking my daughter to school. Across the street from the school gate, inside a cafe, I caught sight of a familiar yet ruined figure through the glass. It was Katerina. She had grown much thinner, her hair messy, her gaze vacant as she sat by the window holding a cup of coffee. Her eyes were fixed, unmoving on me and my daughter. I didn't stop. Just then, Fiona's car pulled up at the curb. She stepped out and walked toward us with a gentle smile. She naturally nestled into my arms, then laced her fingers through mine. "Come on. After we drop off Tom, let's go watch a movie." "All right," I answered with a smile. Hand in hand, the three of us walked together, laughing into the sunlight. Chapter 8. That figure in the cafe was nothing more than an old scene along the road of my life, until a week later when I received an unexpected call. The caller ID showed a strange number from City A. I was about to hang up, but for some reason I couldn't explain, I pressed answer. On the other end came a voice both familiar and unfamiliar. "Leonardo, this is Uncle Lin." My heart instantly sank. "What is it?" My voice carried no emotion. There was a pause of several seconds on the other end, as if he hadn't expected me to be this cold. "Leonardo, could we meet?" His voice held a faint trace of weariness and caution. My first instinct was to refuse. I wanted no further entanglement with the Lin family. But what he said next made me reconsider. "I know back then we wronged you." He sighed softly. "I don't mean anything else. I just want to apologize to you in person." Apologize? I was a little surprised. From what I knew of him, he was a man who valued face and family honor above all. For him to lower himself and apologize, something truly serious must have happened. I was silent for a moment, then finally agreed. "All right. You pick the time and place." I thought perhaps it was time to bring closure to the past. We agreed to meet at a tea house near my company. The environment was tranquil, perfect for conversation. When I arrived, he was already there. In the years we hadn't seen each other, even on his well-maintained face, there was an unhideable weariness. His once neat hair now carried a few strands of silver at the temples. When he saw me, he forced a smile and stood up. "Leonardo, you came?" I nodded and sat across from him. "Uncle Lin, whatever you have to say, just say it directly." I cut straight to the point. My bluntness and detachment froze his smile for a moment. He poured me a cup of tea, his posture lowered. "Leonardo, I know you must resent me deeply." He didn't look at me, only stared down at the teacup before him. Back then I was wrong. I shouldn't have believed Julian's one-sided words. I shouldn't have said those things that hurt you. I always treated you like my own child, but when it came to Katerina, I admit, I had selfish motives. He raised his head, and to my surprise, his eyes glistened with tears. I was afraid she'd be blinded by love and her career would suffer. I thought Julian's steady character was more suitable to be Lin's son-in-law. I was blind. I wronged you. As he spoke, he even rose as if to bow to me. I didn't move, only watched him calmly. There's no need for that. I didn't accept his apology because I knew it wasn't sincere. And sure enough, after his tearful confession, he finally revealed his true purpose. "Katerina, she doesn't have much time left." His voice choked, and tears fell. "Since she learned the truth, she locked herself away, wouldn't see anyone, drank all day. She stopped caring about the company. The board was furious. A few days ago, she drank so much her stomach bled. She almost didn't make it." He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, grief written all over his face. "The doctors say it's a sickness of the heart. Her mind is full of remorse. She keeps calling your name." I listened quietly, feeling nothing. "Isn't all of this the consequence of their own doing? Leonardo, I beg you." He suddenly grabbed my hand. His fingers were cold and trembled from the force. "Please go see her. Please talk to her. You are the only knot in her heart. Only you can save her. If you forgive her, she'll do anything." I looked at his tearful face and felt only irony. 5 years ago, he advised me to leave his daughter because I was not resourceful enough. 5 years later, he begged me to return to his daughter because only I could save her. In their eyes, what am I, Leonardo? An object to be summoned and discarded at will? I slowly, deliberately peeled his fingers off mine one by one. Uncle Lin, I said, looking him in the eye, each word clear. First, I'm already married. I have a family and a child, and I'm happy. I will not harm my wife or child for anyone. Second, Katerina's fate is not because of me, but because of her own pride, jealousy, and irresponsibility. The tragedy was caused by her and by your Lin family. Third, whether she lives or dies is none of my concern. I am not a savior, nor am I obliged to rescue someone who once hurt me so deeply. So please, do not bother me again. Having said that, I stood up, didn't look back, and walked away. At the door, I heard his despairing cries behind me. I did not turn around. The Lin family's tragedy was sealed the moment they chose calculation and interest over trust and feeling, and I had already been reborn in my own world.